It's really difficult to understand until you've had your physical reality stripped away from you, because it opens up a different level of understanding to the potential of physical reality not being the basis, you know?
Like for me, I feel like there's not enough time. All the things I want to learn, all the things I want to do, all the things I want to experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as we know, this lifetime, we're on a ticking clock.
Yeah.
So I'm standing up on the top of this cliff in the middle of this storm, and it was just like this powerful feeling of being connected to something larger and something more powerful.
What would bring me the most peace? And yeah, I went searching for this again when I was going through all this stuff, because I couldn't find anything at first. I was like, there's no good outcome here. Either it's like, I'm really a positive person, as you can see. But no, when I was going through this, I was literally like, okay, there's no way out of this. There's no possible conclusion that doesn't result in being completely alone.
What would be the most frightening for you? And conversely, what would bring you the most peace, or be the most calming or happy?
Okay, so that being said, do you fear death? What is going on, everybody? We are back at the Authenticity Podcast, where we are chasing authentic conversations on meaningful topics. We are shooting out of Steel City, Hamilton, again. And I'm Alivia Walker.
I'm Janae Kroc. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about reality, existence, and the meaning of life. And I know that all sounds super deep, and we don't claim to be any kind of experts on these subjects, but it is something we think about a lot, and we thought would be a really interesting topic to explore with everyone. And so that's what everything's going to be around today. And I think we'll get into some really interesting conversations, and hopefully all of you find it entertaining and valuable.
Yeah, we kind of really didn't plan this episode much. We just think we have so much to say about it that we can go off the cuff. So
so kind of freewheeling today. Yeah. All right, well, let's start off with just in general, what do you think existence is?
Yeah, so I think about this a lot. So I think, first of all, I think like the key component to like any of this stuff is to be like, I don't actually know. Like nobody actually knows, right? Like it's very, very like who knows? What do I think? I guess some of my like previous experiences with psychedelics have led me to a place where I think that consciousness is the basis for existence, if that makes sense. So I guess how I would explain that further, if that doesn't make sense, is that like I don't necessarily think that like I am experiencing like this table. Like I think that like, say this table, if you're listening and not visualizing, I'm pointing at a table. I like this table is showing up as like a manifestation of my consciousness. So that's sort of the way that I view existence, and the way that I got there was doing psychedelics. I didn't view that before, view it that way before. But yeah, that was kind of like from a stripping away of all that was physical, and then being left with just that consciousness. So that's kind of
where you're coming at it from.
Where I'm coming at it from. How about you?
Oh man, I think like for me, I guess it just all depends on how we define that, right? There's so many different ways to define like existence, reality, like what exactly do you mean? And are we talking like literally, philosophically?
Like what do you feel?
I agree with you in that it's something I think we can kind of guess at. I think we can look at certain things and make some educated guesses, but we're not at a point, or at least I'm definitely not at a point, like just knowledge, intelligence, and everything else to really be able to say with any type of certainty about any of it. Yeah. But yeah, that's such a wild question. So I think it has to do with consciousness. I think that, I think it's like the way we interpret things with the senses we have. But that doesn't necessarily mean, and there's so many different theories about, like, there's theories that describe it as kind of like an interface for a computer, and then the fact that there's all these different realities, and that, time isn't linear, and all this stuff. It's really like, it's kind of a crazy concept to think about, right? Like, I guess all of that is to say I don't really know. And like as we go through like the questions we prepared, I think we'll get to a lot of those aspects. But yeah, the existence is for right now, for where we're at, is what all the experiences I have from the time of my birth until my death. And then whether there's stuff beyond that, we'll talk more about that too.
Okay, so you're like viewing it as like a lifetime is what you consider to be sort of existence?
Currently, that's what I'm able to perceive, right? Yeah. Like I have no memory of if I did exist before birth. I have no memory or consciousness of that. And, as far as what happens when we die, I don't know either. So I can't say beyond that. Maybe there is something, maybe there isn't. But yeah, if trying to come up with a definition, I guess for me right now, that's how I would define it. Like everything I experience and interact with the world with the senses I have during this lifetime.
Okay. So do you think in the same way I do that, like it's showing up in consciousness, or do you think like you're in a physical world, like experiencing?
Well, that's a really interesting question, right? Like, so I definitely think consciousness has to do with it. And I do think, like it's not like our consciousness, somehow we're interacting with things that we can't really perceive with our regular senses. Mm-hmm. And there's more to it that we don't fully understand. Yeah, it's yeah,
I was gonna say I feel like the conversations we've had before on this, like you've kind of been not agreeing with me on that, so I wanted to sort of try to understand what your thoughts were on it. Like,
okay, so can you be more specific?
Mm-hmm. Like what do you think? Like, well, I was just specifically there asking like physical reality versus things appearing in consciousness. Physical, okay. But yeah,
well, I think there definitely is this is what I would like. I've thought about this stuff a lot, right? And then I've always like tried to read, like I'm a very evidence-based person. Like I try to like right. And I really try hard to come at things from a perspective of not what I'd like. I think as humans, it's inherent in our nature that if we have an idea that pleases us, we kind of try to bend the truth to fit what we want it to be. And I try really hard not to do that. I try to come at it from a perspective of where does the evidence lead me, or where does what I can discern lead me to, and whether that's an outcome that pleases me or not. I'm trying, like, for me, it's more about.
So what is that outcome though? So I'm trying to get at, like, what do you actually?
Well, I do think there is some type of hard reality as far as in whether that's a consciousness or perception thing. But for example, like, there's a lot of, like, okay, like with psychedelic trips or other things, like, but what I have, and whether this is all real or it's through some kind of interface or all these different things, maybe we're part of a computer simulation, blah, blah, blah. So many different possibilities and evidence to support a lot of these theories. But at the end of the day, here's the things I can't get past. Like, let's say I was in an accident and I lose my foot. I can take a psychedelic trip. I can do all these other things. I can do all these things, but at the end of the day, I can't make that come back. It's gone. And so there's some type of, at least with the senses we're able to use, that piece of me is gone and it's not coming back, and there's no way I can make that come back. So to me, that says there is some kind of hard reality. And like when people die, as much, like with Garrett, as much as I would like to be able to interact with him again, through the senses I have right now, like I hope at some other point maybe I'll be able to again, but I can't interact with him now. So there is some kind of, for me, I do see there being some kind of hard reality or hard boundaries that certain things happen, and like, the laws of nature that we understand kind of govern that, and there's no way around it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So I would say, that's the kind of where like my hard reality is, if you wanted to define it that way.
Okay. I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so then do you consider yourself to be religious or spiritual at all? How would you define that?
Definitely not religious, in the sense that I don't follow any established, religion. Spiritual, like, again, I think it kind of depends on your definition. I've definitely had experiences that I would define as spiritual, and we can talk about a couple of those, where I felt connected to something larger, something that I can't, I can't really taste, touch, or feel, but I sense. And then I try to, like I said, I try to look at it and say, like, okay, is this just something I'm making up, or something I would like to be true but necessarily isn't? But
so do you want to give a...
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple examples. Like, there's been a couple times I would say, like, I felt really connected to what I would describe as nature. But yeah, I had a couple of experiences in both of these that I'm going to share, like, revolved around storms. The first one, in high school, I worked at a campground in Canoe Livery, and at the end of the workday on Sunday, which was the end of our weekend, the end of our work week, everyone who worked there, which was a bunch of, like, mostly high school, and sometimes just early post high school, so late teens up to maybe early 20s. Guys who worked outside and hauled all the canoes, and then some girls that worked in the offices, and then it's a big group, and usually the boss would come along, and we would do these tube trips at the end of the day on Sunday, for a couple hours. And on one of them, we got caught in the middle of the storm. So we're, and where I grew up at, you're out in the middle of nowhere. Most of the river, when you're tubing or canoeing down it, there's no homes, there's no people. You're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, towards, when you get closer to where the campground is, there's some homes and stuff, but a lot of it is, you're just out in the woods, right, like going down a river. And, so we got caught in, like, a thunderstorm, one of the storms that comes on really quick and then it ends fairly fast too. But so we're tubing down the river, we get caught in this storm, and there's a cliff right there that we used to climb up and jump off of, and it was really steep, and it was way too high to, like, jump all the way into the river. It was probably, I don't know, somewhere between, like, 60 and 80 feet, maybe, total height, but it was, the top half of it was sand, and the bottom half of it was, like, a gray clay, and we would jump off the top, and you'd fall, like, 20, 30 feet and land on the angle on the sand, and it'd kind of break your impact. But anyway, so we're right by there when the storm hits, and it's just, heavy thunder, wind, the wind kicks up really fast, it's downpouring. And I always loved, there was something I found really mesmerizing about how the surface dances when the downpour's hitting the surface.
Yeah,
and it's
nice.
And but so in the middle of this, I climb up to the top of the cliff, right? And most everybody else is, like, pulling the tubes to the side of the river. A couple of us climbed up there, but everybody else is pulling the tubes out of the river, and they're kind of taking shelter underneath the trees on the low side, and then on the opposite side of the river. But there was just something about being on time. And then people are like, you're going to get struck by lightning and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what are the odds of that? Yeah. But so I'm standing up on the top of this cliff in the middle of this storm, and it was just like this powerful feeling of being connected to something larger and something more powerful, and just the whole visual and, like, audio sensation, like I had the booming of the thunder, the flashing of the lightning, and I remember, like, staring, and the river was this deep blue green, this beautiful blue green, and with the surface dancing with all the raindrops, and then it was raining so hard that it was washing the clay from the side of the cliff, the bottom half, into the river, and was making these deep gray, like, almost like cloud-like swirls in the river, and it was just so beautiful, and so it was like a painting. And but there was just some kind of feeling, like, connected to something beyond myself. And so yeah, and I literally just stood up there, and I felt like I didn't ever want to leave, like I didn't want that experience to end. And it was, but yeah, there was some type of, like I said, like, connection is the best way I can describe it. Like, there was something beyond that I was feeling. And whether there actually is or not, who knows, but I definitely had that kind of sensation. And then I had a similar experience another time. I was at a beach at a inland lake, and probably 20 or 30 miles from that where the river was at. A couple years later, swimming in this lake with my youngest brother and a couple of his friends, and it was like one of these days where it's like blue skies, sun, and then you hear the warnings back then on the radio that, oh yeah, there's a severe storm coming in or whatever. And so it's like one of those deals where, like, blue skies on one side, and then you can see the storm in the distance. And then, so, like, when the storm starts to come in, everybody's running off the beach, gathering up their blankets, towels, and umbrellas and everything, and running on the beach, jumping their cars, getting out of there before the rain hits. And I just saw that, and it was like one of these storms, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but where there was a perfect wall. Like one side there was blue skies and sun, and then there was the downpour of the rain and the dark clouds, and you could see the lightning in the clouds and the thunder, and then the water's completely calm in front of it, but then behind that wall the water's just like waving up and down, and so everybody else is running, and my little brother's friends jump in the car and like, come on, hurry up, get out. I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay here. I stayed
after the previous storm experience, or
yeah, I think this was like a year later or something. I mean, they were around. They were both happened. Yeah, this was definitely later, because this was probably right before. I think it was the summer after graduation, before I left for the Marine Corps, and the other one was probably 2 years prior, something like that. But both in my late teens. But then, so I just stayed in the water, and about waist chest deep water, and I just kind of floated on my back, and I watched the storm roll all the way in, and stayed in the water, and the water was all calm. And then when that wall of rain hits me, and the water's all turbulent, and I'm being rocked back and forth, and I just like closed my eyes and like just felt all of it. And I stayed there for like 10 or 15 minutes, but just the booming of the thunder again, all the same kind of thing. And I had that same kind of feeling of some kind of connection to something larger. And so I'd those two experiences. And I had a similar one too, where at one time when I was in the Marines, where there was a tornado that almost formed like directly above me, and we were out in this small town, and we were actually staying in like trailers, and if the tornado formed, we were pretty much screwed. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to take safety. But the clouds were, and I actually have photos of this, like the clouds were all slowly swirling and started to form a funnel, and I was like, holy crap, there's gonna be a massive tornado that forms right over top of us. No, Chesapeake, Virginia. So it's like 45 minutes inland from Virginia Beach. It's right near the North Carolina-Virginia border in southern Virginia, and it's like 45 minutes inland, and kind of like small town.
Okay, I was gonna say it's something we just like I've never thought about up in Canada. Like we don't get that.
Oh, really?
Tornadoes up here, yeah.
Really, Michigan.
At least maybe I'm ignorant.
Yeah,
like, it's never been a thought. So.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
I thought it was something to do with like warmer weather.
Well, it is when colder air and warmer air hit. So like tornado alleys through like the central part of the U.S. I know like I want to say like Tennessee, Oklahoma, like that stretch of the country, I think is where the majority of the tornadoes hit and have the highest frequency. But Michigan does get a fair amount of tornadoes too. Yeah,
there's probably some like super hardcore tornado listeners that are gonna be like, Toronto does get
yeah. Who knows?
I don't know.
But the thing, but it never formed. It started to, and like I said, it started to form in a funnel. I'll share these pictures sometimes. But it was really cool because it was like all these dark clouds.
Insert them into this.
Maybe, yeah, I gotta look them up. I think I still have them. But yeah, it kind of started to form into a funnel, and then just dissipated and didn't. And but it was kind of like a similar experience of like I don't know if it had to do with like all the energy in the air or what goes on when there's a storm happening. But yeah, and I've always been drawn to water and like heavy rain and lakes and rivers and things like that. So who knows? It's just something that really spoke to me, but I would describe as it felt like a spiritual experience.
Right. And you don't think that everything's connected? Like,
what do you mean?
If you were to look at it logically, you don't think that?
What do you mean when you say everything?
Just your experience of that. You said it made you feel like everything was connected. And you're like, I don't know if that's true or not. So you don't
connected. Well, I felt like I was connected to something that I couldn't perceive with my other senses.
I see.
Like,
okay.
So, and whether I actually was connected to something else or not, like through consciousness or through something else, I don't know. But I experienced that feeling and sensation, and it was definitely powerful. Like, obviously, it's something I remember. I mean, we're talking. This happened over 30 years ago, 35 years ago.
It stuck out. I would almost argue it's inarguable that we. Aren't connected to everything, because we're all of whatever is made everything, or everything just exists on its own, but it's all existing in the same space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I guess again, then it would like, how do you define connected? Like, what exactly do you mean by connected?
Like of the same thing, I guess.
Well, we're definitely made up of the same substances, for sure.
What I mean. It's like, whether that's physical matter, it is both, I think, but.
Yeah. So for you, do you consider yourself to be religious or spiritual? And have you had any experiences that you would describe like that?
Yeah. So I guess, religious, no. Although I do think that there's like many nice things that you can take from religion. I admire I admire lots of parts of different religions. I also,
Sure.
what's the opposite of admire? Like, I also like really think that there's like some negative parts to a lot of different religions as well. So like, I don't,
and it's a lot of it's in how people use them, right? Like,
exactly. And it's also like, I get very hung up on like, it's information that people have passed down from each other for years and years and years that have been like it's, you know,
there's lots of different texts from different religions that share a lot of commonalities,
and things get lost in translation even between people. Like I can go tell you something, 100%. You say it to the next person and it's lost in translation, so never mind like thousands of people over thousands of years and whatever, right? So I really don't put a lot of weight on those things. However, I do think there are some good points to it that do a lot of good for people, and I also do think that it can bring people a lot of peace. For sure. You know, the thought of existence sometimes can be a little bit terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
So I actually kind of envy people that are religious, because I feel like they're so like firm in their beliefs about something that's comforting, potentially, right? But yeah, I would say I'm definitely not religious in a lot of ways. Spiritual, yes. Like if you can consider what I said of like consciousness being the basis of reality, I think that's a belief that I feel like I kind of know is true, but I don't know if you can know anything, right? But it just feels like my experience has led me to think that. So I don't know if you'd consider that.
I would definitely consider it spiritual, yeah.
But I do feel like there's a connectedness between nature, between all of us, you know? I don't think that we're all that different. And I guess you can consider that spiritual as well. And I don't know. How else would you define spirituality? Like,
I think people define it in different ways, but connected to something beyond the physical. And yes, right? Like that's just sort of, I think, I don't really know what else I would say, like in terms of people that, I guess that's all I have to say. I don't know where else to go with that one, but. Okay. And then, well, what about, have you had any experiences that you would consider spiritual?
Yes. So I think and I talked about this in previous episodes with the psychedelics. So when I first had this sort of exposure to what I considered spiritual, like a spiritual awakening or whatever, it was very negative, very negative. And I was like, I hate spirituality. I don't want to be spiritual. I want to be none of this stuff, right?
Oh, really? You felt like...
Yeah, well, what I thought was true, which basically, I don't know if I actually got into this deeper in the other episodes, but basically what felt true for me after that bad psychedelic trip was that nothing else was real. Except for me. My consciousness was the only thing that was real. Everything was a projection of my own mind, and I was eternally alone forever. And I could never die, and I just existed. So it was like a version of hell, right? Well,
that's interesting, right? Because we've talked about this a lot, especially like after you came through it. And when you when you describe it that way, that like everything's a part of you, you're eternal, and you're describing this as literal hell, like the worst thing ever. I'm like, I don't know, that sounds pretty awesome. Like
we've had this talk before too, where like I think existing for eternity would be terrible. And Janae's like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, like I can't imagine not existing. That, if anything troubles me, it's the thought of like my existence ending.
Yeah. So for me, it was just because it was like, there was no one else here. In my mind, it was like as if I were dreaming, but I was making everybody else up. So I was actually just alone. And that to cope with being alone, I like projected this whole world of like, which again, and I still don't, I don't know what's true. I don't know what's true. I think that I've gotten into a place where now I ask myself, instead of being like, how can I prove anybody else is real? Because if you actually really try, it can be hard to prove you're not in a dream or whatever, right?
Right.
That kind of, if that's how you visualize it. But now I've kind of gotten to a place where I'm like, okay, but can you prove they're not real? Because that's also hard too, right?
Well, we had discussed that, and and there's definitely some things for me that like I think it like the idea that, and I can see where the idea of being all alone would be really frightening, and but and I think and this is one of the things like I raised when I was kind of trying to help you through this. And one of the things I raised as evidence for that not being the case, if everything was an extension of you, then you would have knowledge of everything. Like, so you would know, like, so like all the scientists that study quantum physics or things that, we're not super educated in, you would have to have some knowledge of that too. Or how can they if they're an extension of you, how can they have knowledge that you don't have?
Yeah. So, and I think I will see it as like potential energy that's like untapped by me. But I don't believe that to be true anymore. Like what I thought and what I feared at the time. So like I think that it's just like maybe a misunderstanding of a connectedness between everything. So that's kind of what I view it as now.
Yeah, that definitely, I definitely think there's a possibility that our consciousness are all connected somehow. And I think of that, like, it's funny, this is an example where, like, if for anyone who's really into sports, and especially sports like American pro football, momentum's a big thing. So like a team, things start to go well, and you can see like they build this momentum, and then everything's going right. Like boom, next run play works, next pass works, and then like but then something bad, like a team has a bad turnover at a critical point, and they lose that momentum. So, and I always wondered, is that like, does that have anything to do with the collective belief of everyone that's involved in that, and not only the people on the field, but the people spectating it? We know that just observing something changes it. So like, so there's all the, and that's a hard concept to like wrap your head around, right? And that everybody perceives things like uniquely, like everything, like the way we can both watch the exact same event and we perceive it, our experiences are not exactly the same. So that's all that stuff's really trippy. And then, but I always wondered, like when I'd see those like momentum shifts in games like that, or you get like somebody who has a ton of belief in themselves and they come into a situation that seems impossible and they accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish. And it's like, to me, it's always like, how much did that belief that they were able to do those things led to it happening? And not just in a like a literal physical way, but like maybe in a way like beyond, like consciousness, everyone's consciousness connecting with each other and stuff like that. Like so that's something that I, as rational and objective and I don't know, well, I don't really like logical and rational the right way, but like having evidence and stuff, like it'd be one of those things that's beyond what we can measure. But I've always like kind of wondered, and I've experienced that myself too. There's certain situations you go into and that seem like the outcome isn't that likely, but I felt like I knew what was going to happen beforehand, and it happened exactly the way I believed it was going to happen.
Which is very interesting.
And then like me believing that, how much did that affect that outcome?
I don't know. And it's funny because the spiritual experiences that I've had have not necessarily been with nature. Mine have typically been with people. And I think it's sort of like alignment with meeting people, I've found, or like connecting with people. Like even like the way you and I met, it was like super, super weird. And like, we're such good friends. Not weird, but just so like unlikely. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like, I had to show up to that exact competition. And I had to meet our friend Hannah in that exact way. And then I had to get the night off work at that exact time to see you at that movie screening. And like there was just a lot of like steps like that. So to me, those kind of things feel like aligned. So that's where I kind of feel connected spiritually. So
you feel like that was like meant to happen kind of thing?
I don't know. And again, I don't know if I believe in that kind of stuff. Like I never did. It was funny, before the psychedelic thing, I always thought it was like, when people would be like, well, everything happens for a reason, I was always like, that's such bullshit. Like that's how I always thought of it when I heard that. And then because I've entertained so many different possibilities of what life and existence could be now, part of me does think that we're just playing out the exact like story of our individual souls and healing all the wounds that need to be healed and blah blah blah. And it's like, I don't know, I could get like deeply into there's a part of me that has a theory of I read this book called Journey of Souls, and it talks about how you basically, and again, it sounds, if you're somebody that's based out of logic, this is not going to sound logical.
Sounds kind of woo-woo.
I'm sure Janae's gonna be like rolling her eyes, but I think when you get to a place of like thinking that everything's just coming from your own consciousness, so how I got to believing this was just like thinking like, okay, like I'm using our reality as evidence of what is possible, right? And then I'm thinking like, if I was just gonna go on and be an eternal soul or an eternal conscious being or whatever it is, like how would I go and experience that. If I was to get from this place of knowing nothing to knowing everything, how would I do that? Okay, well, then maybe it would be living lifetime after lifetime of different lessons and experiences that I'd pre-planned out for myself to learn. So this is just like, you know, and again, it depends. I can see Janae's like, she's holding back. Like,
well, no. Well, I think it's an interesting philosophy or theory.
It's difficult to understand. Again, it's really difficult to understand until you've had your physical reality stripped away from you, because it opens up a different level of understanding to the potential of physical reality not being the basis, you know? So it's difficult to understand. So I get that, because like me before, I would have been like, okay, whatever. But that was like one of the theories that I thought. So and I don't remember where I was going with that now. Got off track. But just spiritual experiences of like things being aligned. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like part of me does think that and I don't believe that fully, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, maybe that's true, or at least like maybe that's a journey of this lifetime for me. Maybe there's lessons I'm meant to learn, you know?
Yeah.
I've heard people refer to this as like Earth School or whatever, and I like that theory. It's nice.
Earth School? That's kind of
yeah. It's like
that's kind of cool.
I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert that was just talking about that on a podcast. She's a writer, but she was just, you know, her thing is that this is Earth School, and like it's a tough curriculum, and you go through it and you learn lessons, and you know, your soul's planned different things for you to learn here while you're here.
So you kind of believe that like this is one step in like a long journey of a soul, or
it's a thought. It's not really what I necessarily believe. I also think there's a potential it could just be this, and then you know, you don't cease to exist, and then that's actually a nice thing, because you know, like a break from like the ups and downs of life, right? Like it's like life here has like everything beautiful and everything break, terrible, and then it's done. And it's actually funny, my friend Braden, who runs a spiritual center, like his theory is just that like nothingness is not inherently bad. He's like, it's actually good. It's peace.
Yeah, right? See, my youngest son, Max, thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's helped him deal with Garrett's death a lot, in that he's like, yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like he gets really, it's like peace and rest, right? Like
not. Like if you're experiencing nothing, that's nothing. So that it's not bad.
Yeah. Now, see, to me, like experiencing nothing is bad, because it's and it's funny because you say that or feel that, and then Max does as well, and I'm sure lots of people.
I don't 100% feel that.
Well, okay.
Part of me also thinks it's bad, but
Max will just matter of factly, and he's. I don't know when we first ever discussed this, but I think even before Garrett's death, he would agree with you in that the idea of being immortal or life never ending, to him that sounds torturous and bad.
Like if you think about it, like what would you do eventually, right? You do once you've done everything. Now what?
There is no everything. There's always more.
But if you're always living forever, more too, right? Like I don't know that there's always more.
I think there is. Like to me, the idea of being finite and having an end and game over, done, that's not good. That seems frightening. That's like the idea of not existing.
Yeah.
Whereas like Max and you in a way like find that as actually like a peaceful, like, you know, like there's a certain amount of strain and strenuousness to existence, and then when that's over, you describe it more as like a rest or a peace,
right?
Where I feel like it's taking away, like
I think it is as well, right? It's both, because I think it's like you're losing the suffering, but you're losing the joy too, right? So, and that's like I think life is great, but it's also terrible, right? In a lot of ways.
Well, it's certainly difficult. You know? Like, see, I would describe it. Like I just always think. I mean, for me, I'm the type of person, I feel like there's never enough hours in a day, right? Like there's more I want to do, more I want to experience, more like and like it as I'm getting older, like I struggle a little bit with, feeling like I'm not able to do at this point I can still do everything I want to do, but maybe not at the same level. And the idea of that declining, bothers me. And but like I don't know, like I would, if I could never sleep, that would be awesome. Like I would
sleep anyway.
Yeah, true. But maybe that's why I don't sleep a lot, because I just feel like there's just not, like for me, I feel like there's not enough time. All the things I want to learn, all the things I want to do, all the things I want to experience.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, this lifetime, we're on a ticking clock.
Yeah.
And I just don't, and I know for me, my last couple seconds here, there's still going to be more I wanted to do before that ends.
Interesting. Even what if you were like in a body that was like, so when you're like, say 90 years old, if you make it there, like, and you can't move the way you want, and like, then would you maybe?
Well, yeah, if quality of life was horrible, or like, let's say I had some disease that caused a lot of pain, and existence was just torture,
right?
That's a totally different thing. I honestly don't believe it's going to go that way for me. I think like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing the same things I do right now. But I see myself still being capable of living an independent life, being pretty active, doing like, be able to go somewhere and still hike wherever I want. And yeah, maybe I won't be able to sprint as fast. I'm not going to be as strong. I just don't ever see my health like fully failing.
Hopefully.
And I feel really confident in that. I mean, I don't know, like between genetics and the way I live my life, and like that. But for most of the people in my family, they made it into their 90s and were still living alone and fully capable on their own. And these weren't people that like exercised and ate healthy and did all those things. So, you know, who knows? You know, we don't know. I might have a week left. I might have another 50 years. I don't really know, but I don't know. But I definitely, like I said, if I could get some more time, I would take it.
Yeah. Well, I actually, like, I would like more time. I think like a good lifespan would maybe like more like 300 years instead of like whatever. But I don't know about like, eternal. At least not in the same form, right? Like, I think it would be hard.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of like, you know, like having multiple lifetimes or getting to start over and try different lives and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily believe in reincarnation or that. I think it's an interesting, like, if you could sign up for that, I would sign up for it. I'd be like, that'd be cool. Like, get to start over a bunch of times.
I actually think it's super likely. Like, if there's anything else, it's like we're in this right now. To me, it repeating is like the most logical thing, that like it would be something similar if it's going to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If that was a real thing, I would definitely say the way my life is now, and I mentioned this to you before we were on air, that I feel like I was a woman in a previous life that existed in a time and place that was very restricted, and I was like, if I could come back next time as a guy and get to do all these other things, and then this happened in this lifetime, then I'm like, oh man, I fucked up. And,
I know, but did you though? Because you had some pretty cool experiences in a guy's body.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, obviously, like my life, I got to do some really cool things, but I've just never felt right inside my skin. But it did afford me the opportunity to do so. If that was the scenario, I did pretty well with it.
Yeah.
But
so what do you actually think happens after you die then, from your perspective?
I don't know. I honestly, like, as far as like, and no one knows. But I don't. I would say it's likely down for me. I think it's likely down to two scenarios. One scenario, when we die, that's it. It's like going to sleep and just never wake up. And but then I would say the other scenario that I see some evidence for is that like our physical body is done, but our consciousness does move on to some other plane of existence. And, you know, and maybe that's why religious people describe it as heaven. Other people describe it as like the next reality, or, you know, like seeing people, loved ones that were already gone. And that's in like near-death experiences and stuff fascinate me. As far as like, there's so many people that come back with similar stories.
Yeah.
And then the thing is too, there's no way to know, is this like, you know, some people will argue that, well, that's like our brain releasing all these chemicals when we die, and so it gives you this really euphoric feeling right before lights go off forever, or is that like they got to experience a little bit of what's next, but, you know, then came back, and, you know, some people have memory of it, some don't. But there's been some stories I've heard that again, this is all dependent if the person's being 100% honest, and the way I heard the story told is 100% accurate. And so who knows if that is, but stuff where people, you know, have been dead for a period of time, you know, 5 minutes, 10, I've heard some like longer, and then came back.
That, sorry to cut you off, that girl, she was a woman, a doctor
That's the one I'm actually referring to.
Yeah.
So this is the one, if I'll share this one because this is the one that was the most compelling out of all the ones I've heard. And I've heard ones where, like the person died, they were in the hospital, they were confirmed flatlined, but then they were, floating above the room or whatever, and they were able to describe like things that were said and what the people were doing, where everyone was located, and then, when they came back that they shouldn't have known. But, sometimes you can kind of be like, well, maybe, you weren't, like you can kind of explain away some of that, but this is a one that I found the hardest to, again, if this person was telling the truth 100%, and if everything that was relayed in the version I heard, this was on a documentary that I saw, and hopefully I'm getting all the details correct, but the person, she was a physician, she had a family, was married and had I want to say around 5 kids. She was kayaking, and what happened was she got pinned at the bottom of a waterfall, and her kayak got stuck to the bottom, the force of the waterfall pinned her to the bottom, and she drowned. And when she told the story, she said it was 20 minutes that they couldn't find her, which is way longer than you normally hear. And brain damage would have happened by then, lots of other stuff typically. But they were actually just looking, her friends and everyone that was with her on this trip, they were really just looking for her body at that point. And they were downstream, and then her body bumped into one of them, and they pulled her up, and they did CPR just in case, and they revived her.
Was it cold water, did they say?
It wasn't like ice water or anything like that. No, I think it was, I know it was never mentioned that it was super cold water to where it slows everything down. I don't think it was like that.
We at work have to do CPR on anybody that's cold. It's not, they're not technically dead until they're warm and dead.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's definitely been cases where people fall into really cold, falling through the ice and stuff like that. This was definitely, there wasn't ice on the river and stuff like that. But what was really unique about this one, and hard, like I said, again, assuming that everything she said was accurate and that she was telling the truth, but watching the interview, it was the person was either a very, very good actor, or they 100% believed what they were telling. Just the emotions that were conveyed, and how you could tell, I felt like I could tell this was such a powerful experience for this person. And even talking about how when she came back and was relaying some stuff, how her husband didn't believe her, and just her being you could see he's sitting there next to her, kind of rolling his eye.
But then, do you remember the key part of that story?
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting to. Okay. So what happened was she had an experience like many other people where they see people that close loved ones that already passed on, and they told her that I've heard a lot of similar stories where it's not your time yet. But also she was given the information that one of her children was going to die, and approximately what time and when that was going to happen. So then after she was revived, she remembered all these things. And at first she didn't say anything about her child dying, because no one's going to believe me. And plus she was terrified, oh my God, I hope this isn't true and all this. And then, when she first shared the experience she had with her husband, it was one of those, he rolled his eyes, kind of didn't believe her 100%, all this. And then, so some time went by and she kept it to herself, that part of it. And then, but then she felt I have to say something. And eventually she ended up telling her son, look, when I died, I was told this, and she was terrified this was going to happen to him. And I can't remember the exact time frame, but it was
years and years later,
several years later or something.
He was a young kid. I think he was 18 or 19 when she told him.
Well, I thought that's the age.
And he died that year, that same, I think. Well, the details are kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, details are irrelevant. But yeah, the thing was, it was something or somewhere around his 18th birthday. Also. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, whoever's watching this or listening.
Yeah, and but it was basically around his 18th birthday or something was when this was supposed to happen. So she hoping that maybe somehow it could be prevented. She ended up telling him, and he was like, "Mom, I'm going to be fine. That's not going to happen." And then whatever the specific his 18th birthday came and went, and he's like, "See, told you I was gonna be fine," but then died shortly after that, and so it basically came true. And then that's something just like I said, accepting that it's a true story and that everything's accurate Yeah, I mean, I can't explain that away to coincidence. Like that's just the odds of knowing something like that's going to happen in a specific time frame, and it does happen. So that's one of those things. Like I said, accepting that all that's true. Yeah, is there something beyond? And so yeah, those kind of experiences are hard for me to discount. Like I said, if we accept that, and there's no way for me to be able to verify that. Like, how do I know? Like,
I know.
But yeah, stuff like that is. There's just been so many similar stories, but not everyone that has dies for a couple minutes and brought back has those experiences. But
that book that I did read, Journey of Souls, like it was kind of like a consistent thing where like everyone remembered they had this like so basically the premise was there was this guy, and again I don't really know what to believe, whether hypnosis is like a real thing or not, but
yeah, there's a lot of controversy about that.
Like,
and
who knows,
implanted memories and stuff are also a thing. And
but anyway, so I guess this guy would like hypnotize these people, and they would all have really similar stories of what happened to them in their previous lives and stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting. And then what really gets me too is the kids, because kids are probably not lying. Like they're talking about past lives. Like, have you ever seen that where like the kids know like
I've heard about
like the previous life that they were in? There's some
there's some trippy stories out there. But again, it's like
the kids know everything about like a World War II plane. They're like, oh no, I died in that plane. Like,
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
and then they know like, oh
yeah,
I'm my friend John, and it was like they look it up, and it was like some guy died with his friend John in this plane, and it's like legit. Like I'm gonna look at some of those things.
I would say I just heard that. I don't know. Is that currently on like or something? Yeah, maybe you sent it to me. I was gonna say I saw something like because it was like somebody a young child saying they were in like World War II or something.
Yeah, there's a Netflix special I think on it.
Okay.
That I watched. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like if this was someone you knew, like or like say you're a child, and then they said all this stuff, and then you check it out, and all these facts are true, then you're like, holy crap!
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so stuff like that. Like I said, at the end of the day, again, do we know that all these experiences that we're hearing about are absolutely true? But if they are, then what's going on there? And that does lend to past lives, or which, like I said, for me, that sounds really cool. Get to start over all the time and do a bunch of stuff again. It'd be much better if our consciousness and memories. I think it would be really cool to be able to do that. And I've been all these different people, and all those lessons and all that knowledge could be applied to your next life. Instead of starting over from scratch. But
and I think again, if this is the thing, my understanding of this theory would be that would be that would be the case in a sense of you're carrying that knowledge forward with your karma and your chosen lessons and all this kind of thing, but yeah, you're not carrying over that exact memory, because I don't think honestly as a human being it would be for a lot of people a helpful thing to know, right, if there was something else after, because
for me it would be
some people but some people it would be maybe they wouldn't put as much of an urgency to do the things they needed to do in this life, right? Or or maybe it'd be very fearful, or maybe it would be you're too careless and you just die because you're whatever, I'll just revive myself or whatever, you know what I mean? So maybe it would make perfect sense that you wouldn't get to know that if that were the case. So
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's and I could see where for some people that might be terrifying, right? And then for other people, or it might actually take meaning away from life. Well, if I'm just gonna do this a whole bunch of times, why this wouldn't matter?
Then you'd be depressed and let's just
get this one over.
I've fallen into that before too, thinking that, right?
Yeah.
And being
and it's interesting how one person could look at that and think, oh, this is terrible, where I would see that and be like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I get to do all these things, have all these experiences, and that's actually this, not to jump on topic, but that's one of the things that I like about being trans, is that I've got to have such a wide range of experiences, in that I've experienced a lot of things in my as existing as a male in society, that women typically don't get to experience, and vice versa, experiencing a lot of things from a woman's perspective that most masculine people never get to experience. So having multiple experiences from multiple perspectives and living all these different lives, to me that's the greatest adventure ever.
It is until the problem is some people's lives are terrible. Do you know what I mean? So it's if you struggle with say you're have some chronic mental health condition or physical condition where you're in pain all the time, or you're you grow up in a war-torn country, or you grew up in an abusive, super abusive home, or whatever, right? There's I would say we have it pretty good. So you could be birthed into some.
Yeah, there's definitely a place, like you said,
right?
like, born into somewhere where you're fighting in a war by the time you're a young child.
Think about it.
And like fighting for existence, like, evading starvation on a daily basis, and having like no access to medical treatment and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's definitely, unfortunately, like, there's a lot of lives people have that is very difficult, and there's not a lot of, what we would describe as good in it. So yeah, like, there's definitely that aspect of it that would, maybe not as in the exciting way I see it. Right. Okay, so you want to like change gears here a little bit and talk about like life being meaningful or meaningless, and like how you feel about your existence and how you would describe it relating to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like kind of what you're saying before, is it's sort of just a perspective, whether it's meaningful or meaningless. I think you can kind of give it meaning. I think you could find it to be both if you were searching for that. So for me, and I did talk about this in the identity episode as well, I was like very depressed after this whole spiritual experience, and like just like felt like nothing meant anything, and but then I was able to find meaning within exploring the person that I am, basically, and trying to give myself the best possible life that I can. So that's sort of where I find meaning. And also, and I'm not just, from a selfish perspective, also like connecting with other people and like figuring out where I can kind of contribute. Because I think we are all unique people, right? We all have something to offer the world. I think that we all have unique desires, and I think those are meant to be explored, like desires and passions and whatever, and different gifts and things that we're good at, things that we're not good at, and then the other part of it is the healing that we need to do. I think that gives life meaning too, because I think we each have our own lessons and things that we need to heal to, if you have kids, to pass on like sort of a better set of tools to work with to your kids, or just share those things with the world and not harm anybody, and if you don't have kids. So
those are all the things you think that make it meaningful.
I think that's how you can give it meaning.
Yeah. And do you think so, like, you also think there's an aspect that's meaningless?
I mean, if you want to like look at it that way, you can. Like, I think it'd be very easy to be like, okay, well, either I just turn into nothing and dissolve, and who cares, or
worm dirt,
or I live on forever, so again, who cares, right? I think it's just a perspective, because if you live on forever, then what does it matter right now, right? But like, but you're present. So okay, I think also your emotions give you kind of a cue of like what's good or bad, right? Like if something feels good, I guess not always, but typically you can follow that and be like, okay, like I feel. And when I say good, it's not good in the sense of like, this heroin feels good. But like, I think maybe there's a difference between like, actually, this was Elizabeth Gilbert just said this the other day too. I've been reading her new book. But there's a difference between good and well, right? Like, oh, I'm feeling good, or I'm like actually doing well and being well. But I think that kind of gives you a cue into, like, it's like a built-in system. Like, oh, like this hurts. Like, don't do that, right? Like that kind of thing. And I lost my train of thought again.
Well, the meaningless thing.
The meaningless, just I don't know where I was going with that whole point, but I think you could easily find things that make it meaningless, if you're looking for that, right? Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. So I would think what makes life meaningful for me is, and I've always just inherently felt that way, right? Like I'm someone who loves life, and like I said, like the idea of existing forever, I'm on board. Yeah. And I just think there's always new things to experience, always new things to explore, new people to meet, new connections to be made, and so like part of what brings life meaning for me is the connections with people. Having my children, meeting new friends, falling in love, like all those kind of things, like that makes life very enriching and very meaningful.
So true, yeah.
And then also, like, for me too, it's all about, I guess you could describe it as progress or evolution or a way of moving forward and growing. But for me, it's always what makes me feel, what's the word I'm looking for? fulfilled would be, you know, like whatever I'm into, learning more about it, becoming more proficient at whatever I'm doing, garnering more knowledge, and just growing and evolving as a person. So it's really all about like moving forward in whatever way that is. But yeah, like making progress feels good, and whether that's in an athletic sense, an emotional sense, in, you know, gaining more knowledge, like all those things, like the progress always feels good. So all those kind of things bring meaning for me. And then I also can see like how you can come from a perspective where everything feels meaningless, because it's easy. And I talked about this in a previous episode. I don't remember which one briefly, but like how I had like the experience of realizing like how insignificant we are in the scope of the universe. Like how, you know, the universe is so vast we can hardly comprehend that. It's existed for billions of years. We're a blink of an eye on a speck of dust in a vast universe. So yeah, we're going to come and go, and everything's going to go on without us. And it really, like, it only matters to the people that care about us and the people around us that we interact with. Other than that, we'll come and go. And come and go and be gone. So like from that, like I can see where, and like I said, I had that experience when probably in my late 20s or so, maybe early 30s, where but yeah, it just hit me of like, in the big scope of the universe, how insignificant we are. And it was crushing, and I literally sobbed for hours. And but then it was kind of like I felt like a peace with it. That's nice. So it's like even if life is finite, and when this life is over, I just go to sleep and never wake up, I'm still thankful for every moment I have. And and have I been through tough times? Absolutely. Are there days where I'm hurting really bad inside? Absolutely. But overall, like, I'm glad to be here, and I will take every second that I can get. So I guess that's, you know, for me, that's where I'm coming at things from.
Okay, so that being said, do you fear death?
I have at times. Currently, I wouldn't say I fear death. I'm hoping I still have plenty of time left. There's still lots of things I want to experience and spend time with my loved ones and the people I care about. But I don't fear death in that. I think when I was younger, the idea of it scared me. Like I said, for me, the idea of not existing is kind of a frightening thing. Because I love existence, and I can't, like, I just can't, it's hard for me to fathom. I guess for me, it's a feeling of everything being taken away. So that aspect of it was frightening to me before. Now I'm kind of, I guess because maybe more like when I was younger, maybe I was more certain that there was nothing after this. And I'm not someone who found comfort in that. That actually, to me, that was a negative thing. Very negative. But I'd say now where I'm at now is that I can't say one way or the other. I guess neither would shock me, as if we just go to sleep and that's it. Or if there is another plane of existence, or our consciousness moves on. And I really don't have any certainty, but I think all those things are possible. So then that kind of like maybe has for me reduced some of that burden of like, oh my God, death's scary, and like I don't want to die thing. But and I'm sure Garrett's passing has kind of changed my perspective. And I think about that too, like, okay, has my perspective changed because I want it to, like, because there's a part of me that really wants to see Garrett again. Maybe I don't feel like I don't think I twisted things around to give myself hope that otherwise wasn't there. I still would say I think there's a possibility that maybe there's something beyond this, and maybe I'll get to see Garrett again. But I can't say that like I'm confident that's going to happen. But yeah, I would say I don't fear it, but I also have this feeling that it's not coming anytime soon. And so maybe that'll be interesting. Like people watching this episode for a year from now and be like, yeah, Janae, good thing she wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Bye bye.
I think that's in itself kind of funny because it's like a spiritual thing in itself to be like, oh, I like have a feeling I'm going to be.
Yeah, that's kind of a spiritual thing to say, right? And kind of like for someone who bases things on evidence. And,
I'm going to say you've become more open to this over the past like few years. Because when I first met you, you were pretty like hard no, like no, nothing. I
just didn't see any evidence that like all the evidence I did see pointed in the opposite direction. Like I don't, and I don't mean this to sound judgmental in any way and stuff, but like the idea of a heaven and a hell just never made sense to me. Like the rules didn't add up. And like I couldn't picture like how can there be a heaven if there's a bunch of people there that I don't really care for. And but yeah, so just a lot of those type things, and just the idea of there's no hard evidence, right? Like that anything exists beyond that. But like I said, there's like these near-death experiences and other things, and then you shared with me the fable of the dragonfly. Is that what we would?
The dragonfly, the tattoo for anybody.
Yeah. Should we share that story maybe?
Yeah, actually, that's a good one to share.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah, sure. So I have this tattoo on my hand. For those of you not watching, it's a dragonfly. I got it when my brother. Well, I got it as an adult, but I got it to symbolize. My mom told me when we were younger. My brother died, as I mentioned in previous episodes, and she told us this dragonfly story to help us conceptualize death. And I didn't say this in the other episode, I guess. Did I?
No, not in the grief episode.
So basically what it is like there's these little are they tadpoles? Is that what they're called before they're?
I don't think so.
That's like a baby frog, right? So whatever dragonflies are, they're like swimming in the water. Water bugs. Is it water bug?
Well, no. I'll look it up really quick because it'll bother me if we're not. So you keep telling the story and I'll look.
They're like I'm going to say water bugs for now until she finds the answer.
Yeah.
But they're like swimming under the water and they're talking to each other and they keep every once in a while. Some of them climbs up a lily pad stalk and disappears and never comes back. And so they make these group of little water bug friends make this pact, and they're like, okay, if I ever get the desire to go up that lily pad, I'm gonna come
nymphs back. They're nymphs.
Nymphs, okay. The nymphs. So the nymphs are saying to each other, if I ever get this desire to go up this lily pad, then I'm gonna come back and let you guys know. And they're like, okay, cool. So one day this nymph makes its way up the lily pad stalk and then gets up there and it's sunny and it's tired. So it's like, okay, I need to take a rest. So it rests. And then when it wakes up, it's in a completely different body. It's got wings and it's a dragonfly and it's flying around. And now it tries to go back down to the water, but it hits the surface and it doesn't have the same body that it did before that could swim. So it's like, oh, okay, I can't go back and tell them. And it's like, but the dragonfly is like, they're going to be here soon and they're going to know that everything's okay. So then it goes on and lives its new life as a dragonfly. So that's sort of like the story she told us to help us, understand as kids. I
think that's a cool story.
Yeah, I cried. So that's why I got that tattoo. I think it's a really cool, like, symbol of sort of just like hope and faith and nice things like that. So.
Yeah, kind of one of those things that, but explain that, there's, they thought, oh yeah, we'll come back, we'll be able to do this, and then realize when they get there, like it's not like we thought it was. We don't have that ability, so.
And it kind of can be used in the context of any religion, really, right, or any spiritual belief. You're just like, okay, there's something else that's potentially next, but and it's good and it's fine, but you can't go there until you're ready because you're not in the right form, and that's sort of,
Yeah, it definitely, that definitely lends itself a lot of religious stories, right?
It's funny, when I was in Peru, I actually told that story to, funny enough, when I was in Peru, it was me and my girlfriend and one of my good friends from work, and three of us are like date women and whatever, and then there was 5 Mormons. It was awesome. So we had some really, besides me having like major,
they like back heathens.
No, they were actually really nice and really cool guys. And I told that story because one of them asked about it, and he was like, "That's beautiful. I'm going to use that in my sermon or something." I don't know if that's the right word. But so it was kind of neat.
Yeah,
it's a story that kind of like lends to everyone. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool story. Okay, so let's. I feel like this lends itself into our next one, and talking about death and fear and stuff like that. But for you, what would be like? Let's say like somehow we were able to discern what our existence actually is, and regardless of what that turned out to be, whether it's like living in the Matrix or all these different possible realities that people have theorized. What out of all of those, or any type of existence you can imagine, what would be the most frightening for you? And conversely, what would bring you the most peace, or be the most calming or happy? I know that's kind of like a really dark.
No, I think I've already basically said it already in the beginning of this episode, but like the most terrifying thing for me was what I experienced in that psychedelic trip, which was nothingness, but it kind of, at the time, the visual was like a fuzzy TV screen when you're on like no channel. Just that in eternity, alone forever. And that's my entire experience. It will never end. Nothing is real. No one else exists. That's what felt like hell to me. And I don't know why. Like, if you think about, like, I
can see we're being alone.
There wasn't actual like physical pain or anything, because like I think if you actually think the worst version of existence in reality would probably include a lot of those kind of things. But yeah, so for me that's the most frightening thing, is like that, say I'm just like completely making everything here up and nothing actually is really real. And even and it's kind of like a thin line between that and like what could be good though too, right? Because if everything's if we are just consciousness, then this is kind of just a projection or whatever, right? So, but I think the kicker for me is just feeling like no one else is there. And it's like a perspective shift I've had with thinking we're connected, instead of like we're all maybe connected as one being, or one consciousness, instead of it just being me and just being like my ego self, if that makes sense, like this being. So yeah, and so what would bring me the most peace? And yeah, I went searching for this again when I was going through all this stuff, because I couldn't find anything at first. I was like, there's no good outcome here either. It's like, I'm really a positive person, as you can see. But no, when I was going through this, I was literally like, okay, there's no way out of this. There's no possible conclusion that doesn't result in being completely alone. Either I'm dying into nothingness forever, or I'm eternal, but it's just me, because so again, it's really difficult to explain, but when everything melted away and I'm still there as this conscious being, it leads me to think like there's no other possibility that there could be other things. So at the time I like really couldn't kind of put that together. So what brings me the most peace now is just that, it's what I basically kind of think now is like, there's living forever would feel like hell to me in some ways. So I do want to die, because I want to
rest.
I want to rest. I want to, at some point. I don't want to now at all. And that still really makes me nervous, is like the potential of dying young. Like I don't want to do that. I really want to do all the things I want to do in life as well, the way you talked about it. But yeah, I think it brings me the most peace to be like, okay, death is a part of this. It gives context to life. It provides more meaning to life. It's important. And I think it makes you. Is
that kind of like we only know good, but you have to know bad to know good?
You do. It's 100% true. Like you cannot, like even if you think about like it in terms of like, pain and pleasure, like there's no context there. Like if there's no context, you don't necessarily know what's good. So if the universe just existed with one feeling and it was a good feeling, you might not know what's good. It would just be, right? So what brings me the most peace is just accepting what is here. And because I do think it ultimately is the best option. Like I think if we were a conscious being and had to figure out how to exist in a good way that we could make peace with, I think this might be it. And it seems like so dark. I do like the theory of the journey of souls too. I think that's a nice one, where you have a soul family that you travel through lifetimes with. And
so my part of your soul family,
making I don't know, are you?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's not like that. So like basically it's like some people the theory again of this is like you make an agreement before you come into your lifetime with people in your soul family that are going to play significant roles. So it can be somebody that like deeply hurt you, right? To teach you like that specific lesson in life. They're like, okay, I'll play that role for you. Which is also a nice reframe to be like, so if you do have like negative people in your life, to be like, oh, that person was giving me this gift of, you know, learning how to navigate heartbreak or learning how to, you know what it is, or like, yeah, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I definitely think adversity is valuable, right? Like
it is like, it's horrible in a lot of times. And like, I don't wish those things on people, but like, I think that, yeah, they force
can teach us a lot of lessons, right?
They do. Absolutely they do, right? So so I do like that kind of like idea of like pre-planning out your life. That's a very comforting theory to me, is that you've planned your lessons, you know, they're important, you're learning from them, there's so much meaning, you have a group of people that you love that you're going back to, that, you know, like, it was cool. You'd like it too, because in that book it's like they talk about how souls are like genderless and
okay.
suddenly Jay's on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you? What do you think?
Oh man. What would be the most frightening, like, to find out? Because like if I found out we were living in a matrix, I'm like, cool. Like this
I know, but like, what's the
almost everything's like an adventure for me. What would be the most frightening? Would it be just that this is it? I don't feel frightened of that. I wouldn't say, like, if that was, like, if somehow we were able to discern this and they were like, hey, just FYI, when lights go out, game's over. And I'd be like, oh, that kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. I don't feel like it's frightening to me in the way that maybe it was when I was younger. And even then, I would never say I was someone who was like terrified of death. I certainly, if you watch the way I live my life and the things I do, I'm certainly not terrified of death. I'm definitely, like, I've done lots of things that could have put my life in jeopardy. Right. I don't know if there's anything, like, if I can imagine any kind of like having like the meaning of our life or the existence that we actually exist in, having it come out and be like, oh my gosh, that's just so frightening or so horrifying. I can't come up with a reality that would make me feel that way. I just think everything would be a different adventure. And sure, there'd be like, you know, some of them may have a lot more adversity in them. Yeah. But I can't think of like any scenario I can come up with. Yeah, like, I guess adventure is the best way to describe it. Okay, cool. Here's a new experience. Let's go figure it out. Let's go see what happens. And sure, maybe some of them could be, but I really can't picture like any type of existence that would just be like, like horrifying to me.
It was like an existence where you had to like experience everything negative that you've like for example, Garrett's death. What if you had to experience things like that and you knew you had to? It would over and over and over again.
Like experience. Yeah, obviously there's nothing in life that I can think of that'd be worse than, you know, losing my children. Mm-hmm. And I do know of a person who, it was like a friend told me about it. I believe it was like a relative of theirs who lost all of their children, had 3 or 4 children, and one by one, they all died at different points. And I was just like, oh my God, like, that would be really rough. And this guy like basically spent the remaining years of his life like volunteering and doing all these things. And or being like having some type of existence where you're just in pain or discomfort the entire time. I mean, I'm sure there's something like that. Obviously there's probably things that I guess I just don't think of an existence, doesn't come to mind that would be like that type of scenario where there's everything is bad. And then, like I said, I think Garrett's death is the only thing in life that I haven't been able to frame as there's some type of positive from it. Mm-hmm. All the other stuff I've been through, anything else that could happen, it's like, well, you know, even like it made me stronger, or it taught me this or taught me that. Like, I've grown from Garrett's death and in strengthened me in certain ways, but that's such a hard, difficult thing that no amount of anything that I gained from that was worth going through that or to continue to go through it. So yeah, maybe something like that, like losing everyone and everything that you care for. But I can't picture that as a reality. And then so like, I guess conversely, as like something that bring me the most peace, any type of existence that I exist on and get to continue to like, if I was to find out like, hey, this is just one stage and there's more realities and you get to start over, to me, that's like, woohoo, let's go. So if that was...
But you'd want to keep your like ego as well.
But I would want to keep... I don't know if I describe it as ego, but I would describe it as my consciousness and my memories. Like for me, if my consciousness is intact and my memories are intact, that's me. And regardless of what form I take or whatever happens, that would be like the ideal scenario. Like, we even become like some type of luminous being that doesn't have a physical body, but our consciousness is able to wander throughout, different planes of existence and realities or universes or whatever. I'm all for it. Let's sign up. Let's go.
If that happens and that's it, come find me somewhere because I'm freaking the fuck out.
I'm like, let's go.
Let's
like,
go on adventure.
Like that kind of stuff, like anything where I get to experience more. I don't know. I'm just someone that has like, I don't know, a hunger for new experiences.
I think you're naturally extremely optimistic and positive compared to
100%. And it's clear that you can see that in my oldest son Logan too, right? I mentioned this in other episodes, but like I'm a naturally like, if you want to say glass half full, or just I'm an eternal optimist, even with when bad things happen, and but I just have a naturally positive disposition, and my oldest son is like, I think even more so. Logan is just like, his baseline is like, life is awesome, things are great, and like love every day. And that makes me so happy for him that he's like every day is an awesome day for him, and that really, really makes me feel good. Like and sometimes like when Max tells me like existence is existing longer would be horrible, then I'm like, but he doesn't, but he's not unhappy either. He doesn't see this as torture. He just doesn't see the same kind of maybe the value and meaning that I see in it.
Well, and I think it's a different experience because Garrett, like out of all three of them, I think he would probably have thought it was a hard thing to exist forever as well, because he struggled with mental health, right? Like
he definitely had time where he had some, Garrett had some like high, he was bipolar, and he definitely had high highs and some low lows, and that's I have other relatives that are bipolar, and I've witnessed it firsthand with multiple people, and for them, and there's different degrees of it too, but like I've watched people like when they go through those bouts of depression or like the low periods, it's extremely difficult. And like Garrett would just sleep. He would sleep for days when he'd go through these periods. He would like try to sleep through them until they ended, and he knew they were going to end, but it was, we worried about him at times. And then but when he was in his good phases, and then like some of the other people I knew, like it was like they were like everything was awesome and amazing, but it was such a roller coaster of up and down, and it was very cyclic. Like it went through those phases. And the thing is, Garrett and I used to talk quite a bit about like, you never know how long you have left. And we had one of those conversations not too long before he passed. And sometimes I know like Garrett suspected or talked about like, he felt like at times like maybe his life wasn't going to be all that long. He had said things like that. But like it's such a different, I guess I'm just lucky in that my baseline is one of happiness and positivity and just how my brain's wired.
It's funny, we're in the studio in Hamilton, and it also shares studios with like bands. I can just hear, I think they put a band pretty close to us now. I don't know if anybody else can hear that.
I can hear them like tuning their instruments. I doubt the mics are going to pick that up, but we can hear somebody warming up.
So do you want to talk about our next question here we've got is talking about psychedelics and if you actually think that they allow us to connect to other forms of realities, or if they're just delusions?
So this is one I don't have any personal experience with. It's something I've thought about. experimenting with at some point. But at this point in my life, I've never done any of the type of like mushrooms or LSD or other drugs like that like are sort of like psychedelics that are reality altering. And I've read a lot on them. I've studied a lot about them. I've read about a lot of other people's experiences, and I've talked to a number of people, quite a few people that have had these experiences. I guess for me, like, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, and part of my fear with like experimenting this stuff is, and I've talked to people the whole range of the spectrum, right? Like obviously, like I know the experience that you had, which was like a devastating one, and then I've talked to multiple people who have had experiences where it was the best thing in their life ever, and literally changed their life like hugely, like in a really positive way. And I've had people be like, "You got to do this."
Guess you'd be more close to that end of the spectrum than mine. And also, even though it was devastating, years later, I think it's been very meaningful and important because those fears were in there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they were maybe a little bit extreme. The circumstance was not good. I think maybe that could have been handled better, but it's forced me into this healing that maybe I wouldn't have done till I was like 80 or something, and I'm on my deathbed and I'm afraid I had all these fears of death and whatever, right? I don't know. So, or I could have lived a peaceful life. And, totally
and not had to struggle through that period.
Yeah, no mental health. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But, I think they have their benefits. You can look at, again, find both in it, right? So, but I do think you might tend to be the one that's like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, well, it definitely, like, with me, like, having the whole idea of, like, seeing things as an adventure, and when I hear, like, some of the stories about, all this stuff being stripped away and, like, traveling to these different places or different planes of existence, I'm like, heck yeah, that would be, like, super fun. Like,
the thing is, like, you can't control it. Like, it's not
right. It's not like you get to sign up and pick.
And where you're like, oh, let me go into this room. You're on a roller coaster and you're strapped in and you're just along for the ride. So you have to be able to, like, let go. I think that's part of the thing that I didn't know at the time personally.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from people who've been through it is like, trying to fight it is the worst thing you can do, and you kind of got to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
I do suspect you're probably right. I'm someone who, with like that type of outlook I have, that's very positive and open to exploring. And plus, also, I felt like I don't have, like, from what I've heard, again, like, I can't speak firsthand, but, like, from what I've heard, the people that tend to struggle sometimes are the ones that have some things they really haven't dealt with, where I feel like I've kind of dealt with all my, like, now I'd done this maybe early in life when I was still closeted about all the trans stuff and still in denial. Who knows, maybe it would have got me through that faster, or maybe it would have really, like, sent me for a, crazy spiral or something. But at this point in my life, like, I don't feel like there's anything psychologically that I haven't dealt with or I'm not aware of. So that I think it'd be less likely that I would have something that's going to jump out and just surprise me. And
yeah, it's funny because I don't think that's kind of the thing that it would do. Like, to me, that's such a superficial thing. Like, what you're, like, not to take away from your experience of gender stuff, but like that, when you're like that and you're stripped away, gender is just, you don't even think about that. Like, it's so much farther than that to me. But yeah, you can really hear those guitars going.
Yeah. Hopefully the mics don't pick it up. I don't think they will, but yeah, we can definitely hear the band warming up downstairs or wherever they're at.
That low bass guitar too, but but yeah, I don't know that. I think for you, I think it would just potentially be a cool, like, opening of your mind to different experiences. Like, I think that, and that you might see it that way afterwards.
I can see. Yes, but I guess the thing is, do you think, like, I know there's a number of people who do feel like, high doses of shrooms and things like that allow them to experience different realities. And I know some people close to me who absolutely believe that, and they've had, like, you'll hear about, like, shared trips and where they both do this thing and then have the same experience and they believe they're actually traveling somewhere and, like, experiencing a different reality. So do you feel like that's a possibility or likely, or?
I think it's possible for sure, because I think, again, based on my experience, I feel like reality is just, like, within. So it's kind of like there's infinite places you can explore when you can tap into that. And I think it strips away a lot of, like, this regular interface that we see life through. So to me, it feels more like a stripping away than an adding up. But again, it's just a feeling. I don't know. It could just be drugs that alter your mind, and it could be just that's what it is. But I guess within that experience, it really did feel like it showed me something that I couldn't unsee. Not so much that it was like it was like, oh, I see now. Like that's how it felt. It didn't feel like, oh, this is this new, like, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, there's part of it that does though too, because there's a lot of visuals and like weird stuff. So it's hard to say. Who knows?
Yeah, for me that all sounds very interesting and very exciting, but I've also talked to some people that had such a wide range of experiences,
that's
right?
true too.
From the people that have had devastating experiences that took them a long time to recover from, to the people that like it hugely changed their life, but in the most positive way, and to the people that like had kind of experience that was like not at either of those extremes. Like, yeah, it was cool, but it wasn't anything life changing, and you know, and so I think there's such a wide range of experiences. Who knows? But and as far as like whether that gives us access to some other plane of existence or reality, I think I'm probably on the same page with you. Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. And you know, it could be anything from just doing a bunch of stuff to our brain that causes these crazy visions and stuff, or maybe it's a gateway to something that we can't normally access without that.
Yeah, I'd be really interested if you ever do it to hear your perspective afterwards. But the thing is, so what I did was like I did a very high dose too. I think that's a different experience than taking a low dose. It's not, and it's not one of those things where like it's the same experience, just more when you take more. It's not like that at all. It's like you take more and it's like completely different. So be careful out there. Yeah. It's not what you think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you believe in multiple versions of reality in that way, or do you?
Well, I think that there's a lot of evidence in a lot of different directions. And unfortunately, I'm not educated enough in like quantum physics and things of that nature to be able to look at all the evidence out there and discern whether like the people who support these theories, like, do I agree with their findings or don't I? I'm just not educated enough in those areas. But I've certainly like read and researched and listened to a lot of people that are, and I definitely believe in the possibility, and I think it's highly likely that there are other, you know, whether that's universes, realities, planes of existence, however you want to define that. I think it's likely that there's definitely more than what we can just, you know, hear, see, taste, and touch. What that exactly that is, I don't know. But I think it's highly likely that there's more than what we know. We're just not at a place as a society or, you know, as a civilization. We don't have the tools to answer those questions yet. I think eventually, hopefully we'll get there and have a better idea. But yeah, when you start thinking about the universe and like a lot of the things, I mean, I have some very, very educated, intelligent friends that are nearly convinced that we live in like a matrix, that this world is a computer simulation. And they can make a pretty convincing argument for it. And
I don't think that's not possible at all. I can see that. Again,
I'm like, for me, adventure. All right, cool. If this is a matrix, oh heck yeah. I don't know. To me that stuff's just all like, I don't know. I guess I just have this inherent feeling like anything that I find out that's beyond what I know already is like a cool thing, and something I would want to experience. I guess I would say, like, to be sort of a definitive about it, is that I certainly believe it's possible, but at the same time, I can't definitively say that I know they exist.
Right. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking too for you is like, if you found out it completely like changed what you knew to be true, do you not think that would be destabilizing at all?
I think it'd be interesting.
Your own, because I think it's almost, I almost think it's like, one of those things you can't know the level of destabilization until you go through it, you know, because it's like,
well, yeah, what if you wake up? But like, I just think of like, let's say, like, for the people, I'm sure most people watching are familiar with, you know, when you say the Matrix, like the movie trilogy. Well, we'll pretend there was only 3. I'm a big Matrix fan, and like I was not real happy with the last version, as most Matrix fans are not. But like if I was to wake up, and like for those that aren't familiar with it, it's basically the main character in the movie basically has always felt something's off about reality. Like there's something wrong with the world, but can't really, doesn't know what it is, but and then is searching for this certain person that supposedly has these answers or whatever. But then finds out that it is revealed that they've actually been living in a computer simulation the whole time. And of course, it's super traumatic for them initially, but then, and then there's a whole other story beyond that. But yeah, if I was to be woken up or freed from the Matrix, and even if the reality they wake up to is kind of like post-apocalyptic, like the world like is not in a great place, and they're in this battle with machines. But even I don't know. Yeah, adventure.
What if you weren't even a human? What if you were like you couldn't even?
I'm cool with that too.
None of the things that you like exist anymore. Like you can't work out. You can't.
Well, even so like okay, if I don't have
you have no personality. You can't look a certain way. You're just like this. Like
that actually might be a good thing.
Yeah, gender neutral.
Yeah, well, just like I don't know. Again, like I don't know that I'm that attached to all of this. Like if I found out, like if I woke up and I don't know, I was some other type of being, I'd be like, wow, this is cool. Like
it's funny. In theory, I just feel like when reality, because again, that experience of that reality was like just awful. So I don't know, but that was me, and I'm not the same as you, right?
Maybe I need to do a hard trip and then see what happens.
Yeah, I was so curious. I don't want to tell you to do that and then have it go awry, but
I don't like you. I highly doubt that would happen for me, but you don't know. It is a bit of a rolling the dice, and it is. I just like I said,
and you'd be okay. Like I said to you before, like I probably had one of the worst outcomes you can have besides like dying in a trip, and I'm okay, and it's been a lot of years, and it's not been as many years. It's been a few years, and like I'm all right, So, do I have negative repercussions left over? Yeah, a little bit. Do I have positive ones too? Yeah, So I think you'd ultimately be all right, and you're pretty resilient with that stuff. So.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe someday I will. It's something I take very seriously, though. It's not something I take lightly, and that's why I haven't done anything like that at this point.
And you want to do it with the right people, too, because that was part of my problem is, like, I did it with somebody that was not in a good place, didn't hold the space well, really started freaking out when I started freaking out, so I felt super unsafe, like I was going to, die, and I kind of was dying mentally. Right? So it's, that matters, too, so.
Yeah. All right, so what do we else? Okay, so we kind of touched on like the whole Matrix thing. Do we think it's possible we could be living in a computer simulation? And
of course,
and I think it's a possibility. How likely is it? I can't say, but can I rule that out 100% that that's not? And like when I hear some people that know more about this stuff than I do talk about it, I'm like, really, you're making some good points. But so who knows? I just like that. Like to me though, like I said, if I found out I'm sure a lot of people, that would probably be a very bad thing, right? Like to find out, oh my God, this isn't real. Like we're actually, like we are in a simulation. Well, to me, it's, I don't know. It's just, another adventure, another different existence. Let's look at, I want to figure this one out. What's all going on here? And then I guess we could wrap up. Maybe kind of we've been all over the place, and like with AI now, like so AI is really starting to accelerate, and on one hand you have people that are very knowledgeable in that field cautioning us like, whoa, we need to slow down a little bit. And then there's people that are legit worried that AI is going to lead to, Skynet, and then wanting to end humanity, see us as a threat, and then and there's other people like, no, this is only a positive thing. This is going to benefit us as humans, and this is going to like only enhance our lives. And then I'm sure there's people that are involved in it that are just looking at like, hey, how much money can I make off of this? But the reality is AI, like where AI is at now, where it was a few years ago, and where it's going to be a few years from now.
Crazy. Yeah,
we don't. I mean, it's even just with the imaging and stuff we were talking about on the way over here, like how there's now, like I just saw a thing where there's an AI actress that someone's created and they actually have representation by an agency, and so are we going to start seeing people replaced by AI images in movies and stuff. And I think the scariest thing about AI right now, like in the immediate future, is that it's getting to the point where it can create images and stuff that are so close to reality. We're not quite there, but we're really close. I'm sure it's going to happen very soon, where we're not going to be able to tell the difference between something AI generated and reality. So then but that, opens up a whole bunch of new problems, because then anybody can do anything and then claim, oh no, that wasn't me, it was AI. And how are we going to know? So that's a little frightening. That's frightening in that it's going to be really difficult to discern what's real and what isn't. And it's already difficult enough to do that with like social media and all this stuff, and like, all the misinformation and disinformation that's already being spread. But then when you watch a video that looks as real as anything else and it's completely fake, that's gonna, how's that gonna affect life, and how's that gonna affect the world? And we're really close to that. But then, okay, what about AI evolving into the way things are going? Its intelligence will outpace us very soon.
Well, I'm sure it already has, like realistically.
In certain ways, for sure. I mean, like, I talk to kids coming to my gym that are in college, and like they're using AI stuff to do the majority of their schoolwork. And then like even people like in a business sense, they're using AI to, write business plans and do like a lot of their work. So in some ways, maybe
plans. You can get AI.
Everything. And it's accelerating so fast. It's getting better and better at all these tasks. So is there impending doom coming because it's going to outpace us so fast, and we're going to lose control of this? And then I guess
it feels like it's probably already gone, right? Like it knows it, like
we're real close. If we're not there, we're getting really close to it. And I think it's going to be exponential. Like, and then, totally. So then, and even if it's not a bad thing, it's going to change our lives drastically. Like I grew up, pre-internet, and all the change that's brought, and like cell phones and, all that kind of stuff, has changed life so much. But that's a really interesting thing to think about. Like we're on the dawn of like, what might be a new age, and completely changes how we live life. And then, of course, the scariest scenario is that it gets to a point and sees us as a threat and wants to eliminate us or control us. And then, there's talk of like linking humans and AI and like things.
What do you mean linking humans and AI?
So like, people have talked about like Neuralink with like Elon Musk and stuff, where you're actually like either there's a chip or some type of interface with your brain that allows you to like, do more things. It'd be like almost like having all the power of your cell phone, but being able to connect it directly to your brain. And so, so like, I don't know, does that make us like
ever get a brain chip for that? Oh my
God.
Well,
but let's say that like you can do that. And now you have access to all the information in the world. Like you just had to think about it. You can process like you're like a calculator in your head, so you can do any type of math instantly.
That's crazy. You're not even really like real anymore.
Well, I guess that's another question. Like if let's say you're a cyborg, or you're, how far away are we from that? What if like
and it'd be hard because if half people are doing that and they're way smarter, getting all the jobs, doing all this stuff, right? Like,
well, then it becomes another class of society, right?
Yeah, if you're not going to opt into that, you're going to be left in the dust. But I honestly personally wouldn't. I don't know. I guess you don't know till you're there, but
well, the thing that frightens me about that is then that becomes like another area where the wealthy will have access to all kinds of things the poor will not. And then what if, so then here's another thing with me being a Marine, what if they, let's say something happened, like my leg is, blown off in battle or whatever, and they replace it with robotic. Well, what if they can just make your whole body robotic, or they make robot soldiers that like
you can't hurt,
that are like,
and everybody's got the AI to do like surgeries in their like on the spot, like you can do, everybody's like, it's just kind of weird. It takes away any like, because I think striving and learning and like, actually like doing that work to get to a place is half of the actual benefit of it. Like if you just know things instantly, it's not really like, I don't know.
Yeah, like not having to work to obtain knowledge or to become.
Like if you think about like your powerlifting career, like if you didn't do any of that work, if you just were the
put
best
a cyborg.
in the world,
Yeah, but
right off. We were joking about this before, that Janae said she's the best in the world in every episode, and she was totally avoiding it this whole time until I just did it. But if you were just that right away, it wouldn't have meant nearly as much.
Right. It's not going to have the same meaning. It's not going to have the same value.
It would take away. It would devalue it, which is why I think it's like kind of loops it back into what we're talking about. Is like death gives value to life, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's an argument to be made there. I guess the scariest thing for me, like thinking about like becoming a cyborg or linking with technology. I mean, this sounds crazy, but I mean, really, like we might be looking back a decade or a couple from now or sometime within our lifetimes and being like, this was definitely coming. But I think the scariest thing for me is like, as soon as your brain is linked with any type of people can like hardware, then your brain could be hacked, right? Then you could be hacked, you can be controlled. That's the scary part for me. I'm definitely someone who greatly values independence and freedom, and if someone could hack my brain and take over, boom, oh boy, that's not good.
That would be
there's my frightening existence, is that there's no more autonomy, and that we're control. Oh my gosh, that nails it for me. The idea that I'm just a cog in a machine and that I have no independence or no free will. Oof, there's the scary existence. That's the scary existence for me.
Well, that is what I felt, by the way, in that trip. That's what it was, part of it, right? Like I didn't have free will there was nothing I could do. I felt completely paralyzed. So I think similar feeling in some ways, but
Wow.
Now we scared ourselves.
Crazy nightmares tonight.
Oh God. All right. Well, should we end it there?
I think that's hopefully.
Well, this is the weirdest episode we've ever done, but
hopefully people had fun with this, found it entertaining, and maybe provoked some deep thought, and we didn't freak anybody out.
And I'm sorry if my experience.
I'm sorry if you're going out in your backyard and digging a bomb shelter but we just thought this would be an interesting episode to do, and like I said, neither of us claim to be any type of experts with all this stuff.
I don't think anybody ever can be an expert. It's impossible. So
and just that we just thought it would be a fun, thought-provoking episode, and hope you all enjoyed it and had some fun with it, and like I said, we didn't freak anybody out too much. And join us again next time, and we're going to talk about something completely different.
See you guys later.
Take care. See ya.